spinning wheel here.
There you go.
You're live.
Folks, a very warm welcome to you all. This is your weekly dose of Mauls, Balls and all, where we talk about all things rugby and what's going on in the rugby sphere. So joining me this evening are familiar faces to you all. We have Claire Devaney. Claire, how are you?
I'm good, apart from the fact that I'm melting away. Not used to the heat.
Good one yourself. Bishop Len. Bishop, how the hell are you doing, buddy?
All good, Peter.
Excellent. Matt Boland, how are you doing? Matt Boland is typing. Does Matt have his headphones on? Oh, thumbs up, he's all right. Okay, and we have Clontarf's finest, Dara Weston. How you doing, Dara?
Great.
Excellent. And our guest this evening, folks, he's been on with us before, so he's no stranger to the show. Let me just read out part of his, all of his CV. He has played 58 times for Ulster. He has played 111 times for Munster. He's played 17 times for Leon. He's played 15 times for Biarritz. Super Rugby, he has played 32 times for the Sharks. And for his home country, he has played 25 times for South Africa. Notwithstanding, folks, a 2007 Rugby World Cup win. So he has that medal to hang around his neck. BJ Botha, how the hell are you? Welcome back. It's great to talk to you again.
Cheers, Peter. Yeah, thanks very much for having me back. Awesome. And thanks for the great introduction. Yeah, it's just great to be back, really, and chatting all things rugby.
Good. Now, come here to me. BJ, when it was announced you were coming on the show, yes, I got a few messages from Munster supporters. And yes, I'm going to read one of them. And this will give you a general thread of what they were thinking, right? Let me just call it up here. I have it here saved on me. Would BJ ever consider a job with Munster Rugby as scrum coach, as we could desperately need someone with his expertise? BJ, go ahead.
I don't know if that's for the show, really.
Very difficult.
BJ, that is a genuine question I got. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would.
If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. You can say
no, I would. No, of course. I mean, look, I look at it back, and I suppose when I look back at my career, probably the biggest, some of the biggest kind of, I suppose, parts of my career happened in Munster. I was there 6 years, and I suppose, kind of as a large part of my transition, I probably went to Munster, I believe, at, 2011. So, yeah, I was at the, I probably look at, I was 30 years old, and I was probably coming into, if you want to call it your prime, if you want to call it that, and I suppose then 6 years took me to that place where, you're on the other side again. So, yeah, it was a special time. And I suppose why I'm saying it is because I managed to kind of obviously make good relationships there. And I suppose I did take that time. Obviously, me as a youngster, I was given a lot of help by experienced players, and I felt that was my kind of duty. So, yeah, giving back to the game and obviously giving back to Munster in that way. But, yeah, look, there's people that kind of, I suppose, give the green light that I suppose in one sense have gone the other way. So I'm not to say that I'd never kind of take it on, but look, it's a big job, and I think in one sense, probably just after my career, would it be something I'd look at straight away? Traveled a lot away from the family. It's, kind of weekends. It's a lot of, a lot more than a player. And I have to think carefully about that, because you have to be fully committed into that sort of position. You won't have time to do other things like what I'm doing at the moment, consulting really. But yeah, I would probably look at it just because I suppose the position, and obviously because the club.
Yeah. Okay. So to clarify, BJ, if Munster were to get on the phone to you and say, BJ, we need you to take over the scrum duties, because in fairness, now BJ, you are a master of your trade. Would you take the call?
Yeah, if you had to put me on the spot, I probably would. Yeah, if you put me on the spot.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want
reason.
to. I don't want to put you on the spot. I just,
I would say for sure. I mean, this Munster's a massive club, really, in the sense of, obviously in the sense of Europe, and in the sense of, like, obviously we know, we'll speak briefly about probably again, but I suppose we know where Munster has been in the past, and I suppose they haven't really been there of late. But that's not to say that they can't get there and above. That's what the cycles do.
Okay. Thank you, BJ. Thank you for your honesty. Okay, moving on. BJ, I just wanted to get that out of the way because an awful lot of members were asking me, "Will you ask BJ if he'd ever come to Munster?" So I said, "All right, Jesus Christ." So,
but just on that sense, I've been actually asked on Instagram. Like, someone messaged me on Instagram, to be honest, and said, "Listen, please tell me, you've turned the offer down." But I mean, I've never been asked, so I'm like, right, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's kind of, well, what do you, kind of, in one sense, it's one of those things, I suppose. What do you kind of do? You kind of focus on the positives, and you kind of find that you offer what you can. Of course, I've had conversations with the guys that have been there and guys that are now finished off their rugby. Of course, I've had relationships, but it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
Yeah. All right. Okay. No, I appreciate. We all appreciate your honesty. No, fair play. That's all. Okay, BJ. For what was on the list that I sent you, we had Leo moving on, BJ, from, is moving on after next season. BJ, is that just the business of sport, or was there pressure on Leo to say, "Nah, I'm out of here, lads"? What your own opinion? I mean, we all have an opinion, but your own opinion, BJ, on this.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to kind of pick that apart. But I will say that as I put my player's cap on, and being part of that Leinster squad, that was so successful, I think it's very difficult for the kind of supporter to look at that and say that is the norm, really. Look at the other side and say that is actually the norm, and look at it, what Leinster has obviously achieved of late, which haven't been those trophies. They haven't got across the line. They've been in 4 finals or something like that now in Europe.
Yeah.
And that's where they measure themselves, and they haven't got across the line. So the questions have been asked, and that's obviously very real, because the budget they have, the players they have, they are the main team in Dublin, which they have been, in the sense of the capital. And yeah, they have been streaks ahead. So yeah, the questions have obviously been asked, and as you know, it always goes to that head position, which is rightly so, and you need to be measured there, because the good comes with the bad. So, but I think the decision is probably set, and I read a bit about how long he's been there as a player, as a coach, and I think kind of finding that when is that time comes, and I think he's probably made it for personal reasons. In one sense, I think the pressure is obviously always going to be there. Someone's always going to be unhappy. I'm sure you're not going to make everyone happy at any stage, So I suppose in one sense, they probably haven't achieved, definitely not what they should have, could have, kind of with the squad they had and the budget they have. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, I think he probably feels that the pressure has kind of come to the fore, as a coach. And I suppose, he has other things outside of his personal life, to kind of think about. So I think he's taken both in that sense and made the decision on that.
Yeah, okay, good points. Matt Boland, the same question to you that I've asked BJ. We'll give BJ a break for a moment. The sport of business, or was there pressure on Leo to go?
Yeah, look, I mean, I suppose the pressure has been building on him personally, probably, but also on social media. But as BJ rightly has pointed out, like getting to Champions Cup finals 5 times in a row and not getting over the line, people start to ask questions. But like BJ has pretty much nailed it on the head. Like, how long does he determine he should be there, or how long is he in that role, or like it comes a time, everybody has a time, like everything has a sell-by date, and he has probably, look, maybe there was pressure coming from the powers that be in Leinster as well, but I think for him to say, look, I think my time is done, was probably the best outcome, because he leaves with his head held high. Do you know what I'm saying? And even if there is pressure from the powers that be, nobody will know. Like, the media won't know. the only people that know were people in Leinster and Leo Cullen, and I think that should remain private. Whatever they've agreed, it's out in the open now, and he's moving on. But look, in terms of what he has done, he has been a fantastic coach, player and coach. Getting to finals is a great thing, but fans, I suppose, are getting annoyed that we're not getting over the final line, and we've only gotten to URCs there the last back-to-back, the last 2 years. We had a really big dry spell for about 5 years where we got nothing. Do you know what I mean? So, the pressure comes on from coaches. But look, I think he's made the decision himself. It probably is his own decision. And hats off to the chap. He's done what he can, but he can leave, and of his own terms as well. That's a big thing. We all know in rugby, you want that really amazing final end. You go out in your career, your last game, you want to win a Grand Slam or a World Cup or whatever, and you get injured and you can't play your last game. Do you know what I mean? And that's just how cruel the sport can be. So look, he's taking it in his own hands, and fair play to him, and best of luck to him wherever he goes or whatever he does.
All right. Okay. Claire Devney, Leo leaving. As I've asked BJ and Matt, is it the business of sport, or was there pressure on Leo to go?
Wasn't there a couple of times that he only signed year extensions? Wasn't there a time he was supposed to be leaving as well beforehand? I think he's leaving on his own terms now. I think he made the decision. I don't think social media and the keyboard warriors helped. And just what Matt was saying there, there's an awful lot of, I don't know how to say this, bandwagon jumpers for Leinster at the moment, because they've been doing so well for the past couple of years. It has been finals. It has been finals, albeit beaten. We remember the days of, not mentioned, but Matt O'Connor in the RDS, and you were lucky if you get 5,000 or 6,000 people against Benetton. So he's leaving on his own terms, and he has built it up and to what they are now. So hopefully with him leaving, it won't go backwards.
All right. Okay. Bishop Len, your thoughts on the same question. Is it business of sport, or was there pressure on Leo to go?
Yeah, look, I think I said it on Monday night show. Look, Leo has an enviable record in getting the amount of finals he has got to. But as BJ said, there's also a weight of expectation when you have the players that he has at his disposal. And I think for the last couple of seasons, that hoodoo of the fifth star is starting to loom large. Now, Claire is right. There is bandwagon jumpers, and they come in the middle of the good times, and they think they last forever. But sport is cyclical, and not never lasts forever, But I do think there is a certain amount of pressure on Leo. Like on Monday night that we put up a poll on our own group, and 75% of Leinster supporters thought he should go. So I think the powers that be, boardroom level, the IRFU, they kind of look at this, and the sentiment is now Leo can't get us over the line. And you've mentioned it before, this court of public opinion. When it gets loud enough, the powers that be will react, because ultimately it's down to money. If you go back to the RDS, new redeveloped RDS, and people are of the opinion, looks the same old, and they're not renewing season tickets, and the gates receipts are down because they think there's no evolution in the team. It'll come to a head. So I think Leo deserves to go out. He deserves to be given the year. And the funny thing is, there is no pressure on him now, because will he stay or should he go? That's gone. So he has a free shot at winning a fifth star next year. Actually, I wouldn't put it past him to actually do it in the year he's leaving. So we'll see.
Well, let's hope so. Okay. Dara Weston, your own thoughts on this. As I've asked everyone else, business for sport, or was there pressure on Leo to go?
Look, I think the pressure you could see this year when Leo talking about social media and giving out. He's a family, he has kids. Kids pick up on these things when they're in school, stuff like that. So as a father, it's hard for him to be getting constantly slated by, randomers on social media. But he's getting to go out, as everybody said, he's getting to go out on his own terms. And if you have a tinfoil hat handy, put it on. Leo's leaving the end of next summer. Stuart Lancaster is finished in Connacht end of next summer. So are we seeing maybe that Stuart was given a 2-year contract in Connacht, and then he's going to
controversial there, Darragh.
Hey, you also forgot Roger's contract is also up.
But
so was Richie Murphy's contract up at Ulster.
Yeah,
and don't forget Eddie Jones.
Leo's basically.
Would you get away?
Shut up with your Eddie Jones. Don't take those words.
I think it'd be great for Leinster.
Don't be cursing him.
But if you look at Leo, spent 30 years. Apart from 2 years, he was with Leicester. He's spent basically 30 years since he's been schoolboy all the way through with Leinster to basically coach. 30 years. So massive achievement. And I think, look, nothing can last forever. There is an expiry date on everything. And as everybody else has said, we have become spoiled as Leinster fans. We've become used to, we get the 5th star next year. And then it's like, oh, we didn't win it. Now, in fairness, 2 of the teams we lost Heineken Cup finals to, they've actually been reprimanded now and fined for breaching salary caps. Saracens and Toulouse.
Okay.
Look, I'm just saying, the playing field wasn't always level. But in the same way, Munster fans, you couldn't get a season ticket for Thomond Park when they were riding high on the crest of the European wave, and then people started grumbling a bit and stuff. So, I think it's just rugby is cyclical, and the more success you get, the more success you expect.
True. Good point. Okay, folks, before we move on to our next point, just a couple of comments coming in here. Joe Lyons, I'm not going to read out your comment there. I'll read out your other one.
I know what it's going to be.
Gregor Galway. Okay, Joe Lyons is asking you a question, BJ. What does BJ see as the issues currently with the Irish scrum? Is it front three? Is it technique? Is it symmetry of the scrum as a unit? How can or what needs to be fixed? BJ, there you go. Your area of expertise. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I think obviously in the one sense, we probably find ourselves most recently, the Irish scrum has changed in the last 2-3 years quite drastically, with injuries and players being rested or coming back from the Lions tour and stuff like that, players falling out of form. So I think it's been a little bit all over the place. I think they've been chopping and changing. I think one of the biggest areas that has probably led to, the Irish scrum probably, losing that kind of dominance they had is probably the form side of things. I think players have lost their form. I think big players have lost their form in big positions. And I think for me at this stage, kind of that is a big part of it. And I suppose because what you want to do with the scrum is really with the experience you have at the top and players that are leading the way, that's when you want to bring your youth through. And I think what's happened and where Ireland rugby has been, the Irish scrum has been forced to play players too early in up front, okay? And then what you find is that whole mental side and confidence side of things then take a hammering. It's not really in the sense of ability, it's the confidence side, because the mental side is massive in the scrum, okay? So I suppose we've seen that time and time again, and I suppose we've seen it, say, Italy playing at us at home. Them going for the scrum every single time was basically just because of the first scrum that they got some go forward. It wasn't really because of the fact that, they did have a dominant scrum, et cetera, but if the Irish scrum found some neutrality there, they probably would have thought, let's just kind of, solidify this and kind of keep it going. I suppose in one sense, when you expose yourself, one of the biggest areas, I suppose, in the scrum side of analysis side, once you open up an avenue and you expose yourself and show yourself as a team, they're going to be coming at you every single time. And that's what's happened, So you find yourself at the Irish scrum, because they've showed some frailty there before, every team is coming at them now. And I think it's probably one of the reasons why, and I suppose we'll talk about it a little bit later, Leinster beating the Bulls in the Euro C, but to win the European Cup, you have to have a scrum that can kind of rival the French clubs, okay? And that's probably an area that once we kind of go just below that layer of our starting lineup, we really fall quite far down, and that's been the key, the best scrums in the world of rugby now. Once you make one or two changes, that scrum is so cohesive and so dominant, it actually brings those guys with them. It's not so much, okay, I'm new to this, please show me. That basically scrum looks after that individual, basically takes them through that, where the other parts where when you do have changes, the levels dropped off, and that's when those kind of scrums have been exposed. So in a long story short there, for me, it's been a nutshell of players losing form, which has obviously led to that confidence side of things and building this combination of the scrum going forward as a weapon, really, and then also kind of being exposed by teams, and then that being an area where teams are coming at you.
All right. Okay. Thanks, BJ. Just a couple of comments coming in here. Mike Sheedy. Hi, Mike. BJ, great player with Munster. Also, others team BJ, if it comes back to Munster again, backup team, be good Munster next season, 2027. Thank you, Mike. Beva Marie, would you, BJ, want to take the Leinster head coach job? BJ, only you can answer that.
No, not for all the money in the world.
At least you're honest. At least you're honest.
I love it. Okay. Sean Fleming, such a gentleman, BJ. Met him many a time in Limerick. Always made time to say hello. Stand up and fight. Okay. God, here we go. Joe Lyons, Raj. I'm saying quiet on this, so should read. Yeah, all right. Thanks, Joe. Thank you. All right, let me just move down here. Sonia Croak says on Richie and Stuart, that would be some combo. Saying nada about Raj. Lovely to have you on the program, BJ. Sorry. Yes, absolutely, as always. Now, come here. Actually, BJ, talking about the coaches' jobs and all that sort of stuff. The one name that has been floated about, and it was discussed on Off the Ball, Brian O'Driscoll had a say on this, Matt Williams had a say on this. Your opinion, BJ, on Ronan O'Gara taking over the Leinster head coach role. Do you see that working?
Oh, I don't know. I just can't see that happening. I just think Roger's such a monster man. I think I need to look at that real kind of look. It's an end of the day. It has to be professional. I think it's something that obviously, kind of obviously comes with the job that you kind of take it on, and it's a professional side of things. But I think to get that extra layer of where you kind of have to go, I suppose that's one of the reasons why I think Leo's done so well, and kind of having that real understanding of the culture and the club. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't say it's a no, but I think he's got the capability to do it. There's no doubt. I don't think it's that. I think it's more about the actual club and the culture. I think he went to La Rochelle, okay, and it was a kind of a real clean sheet, and he built it from the ground up, and he brought his element with it, and he brought his kind of way, his Roger way, and he built his team around his selection and stuff like that. I don't know. I've been in those scenarios, and I've been, for instance, back in the day when I was playing for the Sharks, and not any player, and I suppose coach being the same can coach and play for the Sharks. You can't be kind of coming to the Sharks and packing your rifle in on a Wednesday and think you're going hunting. Kind of like you'll be doing at the Bulls. We play golf and we go to the beach, and it's a
good analogy, BJ. A good analogy.
It's just I don't know. I just find that's going to be a tough one to get over the line, and that I'm talking about kind of what Leinster needs. It needs that full buy-in, that you understand the culture. Now, I'm not saying Roger's not capable of that. It's obviously, but I suppose it's a big bearing, I think, and it needs to take a coach that's fully, kind of entrusted in that role. So, look, I think Rog can do it. He's shown he can do it. He's done in La Rochelle at a massive club. There's no doubt. The other side of things is also that you must look at the players. I think the best coaches for me have shown that the players they have that respect of the players. I'm not just saying Rog doesn't demand that, and he gets that, but it is again a massive rivalry that I still look back at now. That's so fresh in my mind. It's probably, and I'm jokingly obviously, and I'm saying it also quite seriously, that would I ever coach Leinster? Of course, the fact is that I'm a Munster man. It just doesn't seem, you don't even look that side. It doesn't even cross your mind. So it's very difficult. It's a difficult one in that sense,
Well, I'll tell you, BJ, there was one question, and you kind of touched on it there, that the reason why O'Gara would not fit Leinster is that there is no cultural fit. You kind of alluded to it there in what you've said. There's no cultural fit for O'Gara in Leinster because of his disciplinary record, because of the way Leo Cullen was. He was so relaxed. O'Gara tends to be a bit more hot-headed.
Yep.
QED, his touchline bans and all that sort of stuff. So the cultural fit, BJ, certainly does come into it. Would you agree?
It does. But
yeah.
Look, that could be in the sense of that could also be the ticket to changing Leinster's fortunes around as well. To actually change it from the top down or the bottom up, whatever you want to look at it, and just say, listen, this is the way. Buy into this. This is the way we're going to kind of change things up. And there's nothing better than a little bit of fire under the, kind of coals, kind of under the feet, getting things a little bit shaken up. Maybe that's what it needs.
Yeah.
Maybe that kind of whole same template of the same kind of culture.
A bit of friction.
Who knows? Exactly. 100%. So that could be the ticket in that sense.
All right. Okay. Thanks, BJ. Bishop Lane, I'll ask you because you're the only Munster supporter on here. O'Gara to taking over the Leinster head coach role. Thanks, BJ. I saw that. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, look, we discussed this off air there the other night, and you made a good point. You said, as a stepping stone, it's a professional sport, as a stepping stone, if O'Gara was to take the Leinster job, he'd be well placed to take the Ireland job after Farr steps down, which makes perfect sense. If you're thinking about it rationally. What I think BJ is actually right, and we also touched on this because they're chalk and cheese culturally. And I agree with BJ, Rog is capable of doing the job. I'm not saying he wouldn't go in there, and I do think he could shake things up and maybe put a bit of grit into the players. I don't believe this touchline ban crap, to be quite honest with you, because Michael Cheika was certainly no shrinking violet. He was well able to shout and roar from the sidelines, and he got guys going. But I think the biggest problem here is I don't think Leinster supporters would ever accept Rog or a large.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I don't agree.
No, I know, bollocks. I know you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Right? They wouldn't. They would not. There's be a cohort of supporters there that just will not. Okay, even if they accept him, and it doesn't matter. He will be under the microscope from the day he starts, and every little thing that goes wrong, it'll fill social media. It'll be a little like Sam Prendergast is under the microscope for his defence. The fact that Henry Pollock is under the microscope for being a gobshite, right?
Yeah.
He never get away with it.
But Len, Rog has a neck like a jockey's bollocks. He wouldn't give a fuck.
Oh, they wouldn't bother Rog.
It wouldn't impact him at all.
No, but I just don't think he'd have to come out and literally win the European Cup in his first season for him to be accepted. I honestly believe that.
And I don't think he even would be accepted if he did.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Go.
We'll wait till he's ready to come down and coach Munster.
All right, okay. Go on, Claire. You were coming in there. Go on, have your drink.
No, sorry. Yeah, water. Hydration is key.
Yes.
I don't think he would even be accepted even if he did win the European Cup in the first season. There's an awful lot. I think there'd be an awful lot of Leinster fans that wouldn't accept him, and there'd be an awful lot of Munster fans that would probably disown him.
Yeah, Peter, you're a very pragmatic person. You look at this logically.
Yes.
There's certain elements of Munster and Leinster, it'll never be. Logic won't come into it.
No, don't get me wrong. When he was down, I think he's a very good coach. I do think he's a great coach. I watched him when he was down in Crusaders down in New Zealand. He is a very good coach, but whether he would fit in to the Leinster setup, I don't know about alliances in the dressing room and stuff.
I don't know, Claire. I think O'Gara is he's a fine coach, and
he is. No, and I'm not disputing the fact that he is a very good coach. He's a very good coach, but I think there's an awful lot of Leinster fans that wouldn't accept him, and there'd be an awful lot of Munster fans that would disown him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Glenn agrees with me on that one.
I do.
Okay, all right. Matt Boland, Ronan O'Gara to Leinster. Would that sit well with you?
Look, it wouldn't bother me, basically, because I'd be a very pragmatic thinker as well, right? And the professional rugby and coaching at elite level is probably different mindset altogether, because he will see that as a job. It won't be a provincial thing at start. But I'm saying, as a but, there's a massive.
Go on.
I don't think he will, because of the whole issue with Leinster and Munster going back for the ages. If O'Gara took that job, he would never be able to set foot in Limerick or fucking Cork ever again. And that's the thing. But as a professional elite coach, I don't think he would turn down any job if it was offered, if you get me.
Okay, Darragh Weston, your thoughts on Ronan O'Gara?
I think, to paraphrase Meatloaf, Rog would do anything for money, but he won't do that. Now, having said that, I would have no problem with him coming in. If we look at who's been winning the European Cup year after year after year, French teams. He's won it twice. So I think Slimani has been great for Leinster. And he's going now. So I think we definitely need somebody with French experience in to get into their minds. Would he fit in? There's enough Cork people living in Dublin already, so I mean, it's not going to make much of a difference.
Well, you're married to one. You're married to one.
Yeah. Oh, I know. But
that's what you're saying.
Look, he'd shake things up in Leinster, and maybe that's what we need, because we've had, since Leo took over in 2014, I think he stopped playing and he did forwards coaching, and then he took head coach 2015. So we've had 11, 12 years of minor changes. So, we probably need, and look, I mean, as Leinster, we've had Australians, we've had Kiwis, we've had loads of people coach us. The one way Rog could get around it and be welcomed back into Cork and that is if Leinster start losing, then he can go, lads, that was the master plan all along. I went in to sabotage. That'd be his get out of jail card.
All right. Here's a general question from now. No. BJ,
assistant coaches
behave.
I said we haven't touched on assistant coaches yet.
Yeah.
Are you going to say Zebo?
No. But his current assistant coaches are Munster as well. Donica Ryan, Sean Dougal.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, sorry. All right.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I think from a Leinster point of view, these lads have all represented Ireland as well as Munster. So I think if people can't get over the provincial part of it, it's whether they want to, where they'd feel dirty, kind of. Because if you played for that club, that's your enemy. That's your biggest rival, are Munster and Leinster. They're two biggest rivals. And, it'd be like, I don't know, sleeping with your brother's wife or something like that. It's just
all right. Okay.
Darragh could go to Connacht and coach Connacht, no issues. He could go up north and coach Leinster, no issues.
Oh yeah.
It's only
it's those two. Yeah. Even both sets of sport. I mean, if you had Limerick and Cork, the rivalry between Limerick and Cork there. So
we can't agree even there.
All right, we have a few comments here, folks. Sorry, Georgie, hello. Under-20s Rugby World Cup on the way. What you expect from the lads? Okay, so the under-20s are playing England at the weekend. BJ, any thoughts on that? Or Do you know?
Like I haven't really followed the under 20s too closely this year. I suppose previously, I think Ireland have done reasonably well. I think in where they found themselves. I think there's obviously the usual, sides that kind of put their hands up. I think it wasn't the most recent game. Now, didn't New Zealand lose to? Was it Georgia or something?
Georgia, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, seeing that, yeah.
And this is what happens in these age groups. You kind of get some sort of maybe they have kind of a strong scrum or strong line out or strong back line, and this is kind of sometimes a deciding factor. So look, they're sometimes tough to judge, but look, I think it's a great platform. I think the Under 20 World Cup is really good. I think it's a great platform for the players to kind of be on this international stage and put themselves out there, and really kind of, I suppose, enjoy international rugby at just below that kind of international level. And the 20s is a really good level, and I know kind of obviously the guys in the system in South Africa, kind of, we have that Riley Norton from South Africa that just stepped into the South African side, out of under 20s, and it's a great platform for, I think, the international teams, that if they can perform there's a very good opportunity, that they can maybe bring them into the squad and see what they're about. So it gives them a great kind of footing in there. But look, it's really difficult to say sometimes, under 20s is such a difficult, kind of, I suppose, World Cup in a sense. It's there's no games before, there's no games after. Tough to decide, who's kind of leading the race there.
Yeah. South Africa are apparently in the race. The Baby Box, apparently they have an exceptional team. I haven't seen them play. I've only seen the under 20s in the Six Nations, but apparently there's some very big units involved.
Again, so South Africa, they've got a good scrum, so they've really got a good scrum. So
everything in the game, isn't it?
They're keeping the salads.
I have a question for you now, BJ, which I'll probably forget when I go through these comments.
You will.
Please do.
Oh, shit.
Sean Fleming, why an Irish coach? All kind of very similar, don't you think? It needs a complete revamp and a different road forward.
Sean, we had an Australian coach and a New Zealand coach before we had Leo. So, I mean, it's not always an Irish coach, but, it's if we have the talent here, then, certainly use it.
Yeah. Now, come here, BJ. I've actually recollected my thought and my question I was going to ask you. Leinster beat 3 South African teams in the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and the final. Is there an issue in South African club rugby?
No, I don't think so. An issue kind of obviously, there's obviously the kind of really, there's a massive, I suppose, kind of expectation from South African, as there always is, from their clubs. But I suppose South Africa are facing a challenge, and the South African teams are facing a challenge in this European Euro C setup, and the kind of, obviously we've had this conversation before of what teams play in the European Cup and the depth around that side of things, and kind of working around what teams and what competitions, because this really is difficult, I suppose, to put yourself there and put yourself up there for the Euro C and the European Cup. And I don't want to go talk about travel, because I think it's part of the job, and I think it's part of what you do. But there is obviously the added effect if you go, say, a semi-final in South Africa, and then suddenly you're traveling for a final, and you land there on the Tuesday for the final on the Saturday. That does happen, and I think that's kind of where the team that's present has the advantage. But the general travel is not like back in the day where you were traveling, kind of 10 hours time zones to Australia and Argentina, and vice versa. I think it's as the crow flies, and you got your recovery stuff, and you deal with it, But I think at the moment there's obviously disappointment. I think the Bulls probably, the game, we talk about that in the weekend, probably showed where, I don't think where South African teams are, but probably shown where kind of a team like Leinster were hurting from the European Cup. And I think when you find yourself against a team like that in their kind of so-called, home city, and get that momentum behind them, they're very difficult to stop, So I don't think they're that far off. I think sometimes teams, just have a really kind of, I suppose, a bad run of it. And I suppose some teams have just shown that. And I think it's It's not a reflection of the kind of ability. It's more so just that momentum, and sometimes you have that going for you.
No, fair enough. Now, Joe Lyons, here we go.
Peter, just a quick thing. What BJ said there, I think another important thing for Leinster was the fact that James Lowe was kind of screwed over a bit. It kind of, I think the Bulls were unfortunate in that they had to go home from Glasgow and then fly back up to Dublin again. So that wasn't great for them. But like I expected it was going to be really, really close. But I think Leinster actually got there was a bit of a kind of like, okay, our buddy's been possibly screwed over on his contract. Let's go out there and fight for him. And it gave them an extra thing just to play for.
Yeah. Okay. But before we move on to discuss the Munster setup, Joe Lyons, what's Joe Lyons saying here? Regardless of what the fans think, bottom line for me, it would dilute the competitive and angst between the provinces. There needs to be bite between Munster and Leinster. That's referring to
Yeah, it does.
Joe, being married to a Munster woman, it never gets any easier. There's always bite between the two.
All right. Bevan says, hi, Bevan, how are you? I think the issue with South African teams is they have to travel back. This is what you were saying there, BJ, which you kind of threw out this particular argument, is that they have to travel back and to from South Africa. This is why a Southern Hemisphere team shouldn't be in the Northern Hemisphere competition, because two of the teams are used to altitude and they get brought back down to the sea level and will struggle with the... Yeah. I've heard that argument before, BJ. Is that an argument, the sea level thing? Is that an argument?
Well, sea level for overseas teams coming to South Africa.
Yeah,
definitely an argument that when they go to Pretoria, when they go to Johannesburg, there's definitely a big difference there, no doubt. That it hits you, and it hits you hard. And what the teams do is basically you can bypass that or kind of mask that by either being there for the whole week. But sometimes it's a hard going being in Pretoria and Joburg for the whole week. So they head down to Cape Town or the coast or somewhere. And then what they generally do is there's like a 24-hour period. They say that the body adapts. That you don't allow the body to adapt. That's why you're there for 24 hours. So basically you land there the night before, and then your body doesn't have enough time to actually adapt, and you can kind of, I think it's that whole first 20 minutes in the game. I remember playing up there, you just blow through that first 15-20 minutes in the game, and then you kind of on the other side of the altitude, your body then kind of adjusts. But yeah, it can be a bearing. I think they know about this, so professional teams plan for that. The travel is variable. I don't know the whole thing around, we could speak about this, flying via Qatar and all these other, kind of hubs. It's a time thing, isn't it? You kind of in the plane and you're in the airports and you're kind of trying to wear your recovery kind of tights, and you're doing your, fluids and nutrition, but just played a game. You kind of got a couple of knocks to deal with, and you're feeling sorry for yourself, and you're getting that side by the time it's Tuesday. And, so when that doesn't happen, not that week, it's a week on week on week on week. So at the end point, for sure, there might be some deficits, that counts against you. But I think the bigger teams, as we know, the teams that win Europe have squad depth, and they have proper squad depth, and then that's the guys that basically are winning the trophies at the moment, or the teams that have that squad depth that they can really replace like for like. And I think the Bulls tried that, and the Stormers tried that, and they came short because it's just trying to save the legs and save the players. It's really is a tough task, because what you then not also what you're also taking out is dynamic, and working with combinations that you're trying to stay consistent with, and getting that momentum going game on game. So it's tricky. It's hell of a tricky. But look,
yeah,
it is what it is. It is the competition. It's the URC for that reason, and the South African teams have committed. But who knows what the way forward is? There's been some whispers in South Africa around pulling out and stuff, but I'm not too sure what the financial model looks like there either.
Well, come here, BJ. Do you like the URC?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've obviously never played in the NVRC, but I like it. I think for me as a player, I would have loved playing in it because of the fact that I played for kind of months, or also would have been playing in South Africa in front of my home crowd, and then kind of, playing against big teams in South Africa, and this kind of rivalry that's really adds the edge to the international sides as well. So, and with the international rivalry that's been built up over time now with Ireland, and kind of. So yeah, I like it. I do like it. I think it's a great competition. I like it. I definitely do.
All right. Okay. Good. Okay. Moving on, folks. Dara Weston. I want to talk about Munster's issues at the moment and how they get around that. Len, you're next. Being the Munster fan. But Dara, I just want to get your thoughts on what the perception is within Munster rugby and what is going wrong. Now, I will preface this with, I just want to say this because I was reading this. Ian Flanagan has come in for an awful lot of criticism, the head honcho of Munster rugby. But he has done a great job in bringing in money into the club. Now, someone else then said, but sure, there's 100 people on redundancy notices and all this sort of stuff. But Dara, I just want to get your thoughts on what is there anything to pin down what the hell is going wrong with Munster rugby at the moment?
I mean, I was talking to my father-in-law about this last week, and he was up here with us, and he, being obviously talking to a Leinster fan, he was very unwilling to admit any problems in Munster. But then eventually he was like, yeah, look, stuff needs to change. Look, when you get like former players resigning from, representations in the province, yeah, obviously something needs to change. And where does that change come from? I mean, the obviously the Randall coaching signing was messed up. Then we had last year, was it last year or 2 years ago, we had the coach being dismissed, and that was badly handled as well. So, I mean, we've known for a while that when you look at the IRFU financials, that the loan on Thomond is just being rolled over each year. There's not really much being paid back. Part of that, I think, is probably because JP McManus is ploughing money into Limerick hurling now, where before he used to give a lot of money to Ulster or to Munster rugby. But to be honest, yeah, looking at it from the outside, I don't know. Change is needed, but I don't know where that change is. Len's probably better, and BJ to talk about that. Well, all Len, right. I suppose he's boots on the ground.
Yeah, well, there you go. Thank you, Jara. Len, go on. Same question to you, and please don't keep us here all night.
Go on a rant, man. Go on a rant.
Nah, look, I'm after doing a load of fucking rants on this crack. What problems? I'm actually not really sure what you're talking about, Peter.
That's pretty much my father-in-law said last week.
No, look, I do think, look, when Roundtree was dismissed, I think it left a sour taste because it was kind of swept under the carpet. And there was no real explanation, announcement on it. It was just, it's gone now, move on. And a lot of supporters were kind of a little bit pissed off with it, let's be honest. He won us our first URC in many years. And yeah, it was a summary dismissal. We've all heard the rumours, so we won't get into them. So there was an upswing. Macmillan was announced, good coach. So there's a bit of optimism. And then we had the Randall affair. As I said before, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with what it shouldn't, it was handled badly. Again, it was the media feasted on it, had a field day. Elements of it were dripped out over a number of weeks, and hence we now have a external review or an internal review. I'm not really sure which. But look, on the pitch, we'll forget all about that crack. On the pitch, what BJ alluded to with the South African teams competing in the URC, is lack of depth. Lack of depth is a huge problem. Any chance you'd stick on the boots for next season and play tight head, BJ?
No, way past that now. Sorry, I
I don't know about that. Look,
they're like fine wines; they
obviously
mature over time, you know.
Ollie Jaeger has had to retire like a week.
They start rotting. long time. No, I mean,
not at all. Look, Ollie Jaeger would look tight end, our scrum. Look, this is BJ's speciality, and as he said, scrum, everything revolves around the scrum, and our scrum has had issues for the last number of seasons. Ollie Jaeger has been very, very good at tight head, but injury, and now he's had to call a halt to his career, which is sad for a young guy, only hitting his prime as a prop. Good news was Jack Ainger is coming in, but we've lost Ollie. Roman Salanoa, they just cannot get him fit. Kieran Brooks is supposed to be coming in, so we'll have Jack and Kieran. Michael Alalatoa, unfortunately, the chap is just past the sell-by date. No offence to the lad, but he's a liability penalty machine on the pitch and offers nothing. But look, I hope Macmillan stays. I hope we can build. There's a few signs coming in. Look, we could be here all day. Depth is an issue. But then again, money is an issue. So
true, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Okay, Claire Devney, your thoughts on the Munster? I'm not going to say debacle, but the Munster troubles, let's say, that they're having at the moment.
Okay, is it an issue that they're splitting into two stadiums because you're going between Cork and Limerick, so you never really have a full stadium, a full sold-out stadium? Like I know Munster is huge. I do know that.
Have full Musgrave.
Yeah, well, because it's small. But I'm saying, what's Musgrave hold? 6,000, 7,000?
I've no idea.
They've redeveloped it. So.
I think it is.
Yeah.
8.5 BJ, yeah, there you go. All right, go on, Claire.
Okay, yeah, that's grand. And then but then you have the pinnacle of their loans and their building and stuff that is never I don't think I actually seen it sold out last year at all. I can't remember watching the Munster match when it was sold out last year.
In Thomond, Claire?
Yeah, yes.
All right, okay.
Yeah. But as we alluded to where you're on, rugby comes in swings and roundabouts. There's ups and there's downs, and I think this is just a Munster downtime that they will come back. They will stand up and fight, and I know that's not them.
But come here, Claire. Is there any key issue that Munster are missing in all this? You know, BJ alluded to said some very important points there. But is there any particular issue that Munster are actually missing at the moment?
I don't think it's one particular issue. I think it's a culmination of a load of different issues, and it's like I don't think it's one big like the thing is the problem is the coach or the problem is the fans or the problem is the loan on the building or the problem is. I think it's a culmination of everything coming together.
You're dead right, Claire, because it's not.
You can make the perfect stuff.
We need an out half or we need a loose head. It is kind of built and compounded over the last number of years that we now kind of have problems across the board, on and off the pitch, which is as a fucking dying Munster supporter, it is sad to see. But look, one thing about Munsters, they don't die, and have to say, Munster's biggest asset is their supporters. You might fucking be pissed off and criticise some of the decisions, but win, lose or draw, and what Flanagan has to make sure is he does not lose the goodwill of the Munster supporters, because if that happens, the club dies.
All right. Okay. Matt Boland, your thoughts on what I've asked everyone else, Munster's key issues. Is this something, Matt, that could be solved readily, or is this going to take time?
No, look, nothing can be solved straight away. Everything needs to be put to a process and defined and worked through, and it could take a couple of seasons to get back. We know what's going on with down in Munster, and being off the pitch and on the pitch, as Len rightly said, like if things are going wrong in the background, it does trickle down as always in a business, the fucking shit always comes out, you know, and you can see that going on. Like in terms of who do you blame, you can't blame any sole person or sole area in a club for any sort of issues like that. As Claire has said, like there's probably parts of everything going wrong, and it's all culminating in this debacle. Or we don't want to call it debacle, as you said, but the issues going on, you know. As Len said, like, I mean, the key to Munster and to be regaining is their supporters, you know. As long as you have their supporters, you know, but they want to be doing the right things and stepping in the right areas and going the right ways to keep their supporters, because as I can't remember who said it, like years ago, you couldn't get a Munster season ticket, and that shows you the popularity of the club and how well they are loved down there. They're all fucking mad down there. I took my life in my own hands one Christmas when I went down to watch Leinster v Munster, and I was literally the only Munster supporter in the terrace, and I didn't think I was going to get out alive, but it was intense, and you see that passion from the supporters. You know, you don't want to lose them. They are a massive key, and you know, no player wants to be going out playing in front of an empty stadium. It's just not a good look. But you know, if they get this, whatever is going on wrong in the backgrounds, they get that right, it'll trickle down again and everything will be all right in the pitch. But again, I suppose with injuries and all that sort of stuff, it's just all culminated in together, and it's just
we lost an awful lot of experience, like Omani, Murray, a lot of experienced guys out the gap at all at the same time. Didn't help either.
And look, when you lose a batch of senior players in a team, it kind of does. If there isn't that new kind of guys that are coming in to take over for that senior place, because like you always have your senior, like your captain, and then you've the senior core group of players, which are always the elder statesmen of the group. But when they all go, if there's no replacements for them, it is a tough kind of area to be. But look, you know, we can't pinpoint of how they're going to go about fixing it, and it's not going to go overnight. It's just going to have to be built again, and no doubt they will. They'll be back to haunt us again.
Okay, before we go on to our last point, our good friend Shirley Thornton has made a comment. We're going through a lot of change across the provinces, some negative and some positive. Connacht, to me, is the one to watch. They seem to have things coming together, stronger and more united players and fans alike than Munster and Leinster do. All right. Okay. Thank you, Shirley, for that.
Peter,
go on.
Am I allowed my turn?
Yeah, go on.
Of course, yeah.
You missed him.
Listen, no, I'm joking. I just want to say, like, I think it's, I mean, I'm saddened and I'm angry at the same time, right? And I'll tell you why, okay? Because, you know, a coach once told me, well, the first time I walked into Munster, I was told, and then later down the line, Axel Foley told me, Munster are measured in Europe, okay? It doesn't have to go anywhere further than that, all right? Munster are measured in Europe, okay? So when you go and look at the players that are recruited, okay, and the coaches that are recruited, okay, to be measured in Europe, you get a very good sense of why things are where they are. It's clear. It's simple. It really is simple, because the fact is that exactly what you guys said now and Matt said. So the whole kind of youngsters coming through the system when I was there was the Conor Murray, was Peter O'Mahony. Were these players coming through in the system? So where was the next generation coming through? And so what generally happened for me is that I believe is that what we started doing is that we needed a quick fix for a problem, and that it wasn't a long-term kind of real player. Because Peter, to be honest, like, you know, what Munster need and what any team needs, okay, is a real resilient player that plays week in, week out, okay? Now, when you have a system like obviously Munster do sometimes and Leinster, you have internationals that play for other countries and stuff, but then what you need to make sure is that the player that plays for Munster or Leinster or whatever kind of is that his backup is just as good or just maybe just off that, you know, and then you have that kind of consistency around the selection. And it's the same for the coaches. Okay, so I don't know where that buck lies, but I can tell you now, it lies with whoever's recruiting.
Like, hold on.
I know. I want to hear the end of this point, Peter.
Yeah,
no, I'll tell you what. Hold on. No. I want to ask BJ a point, right? Because it's very pertinent. Leinster have an issue, a hangover issue with Johnny Sexton leaving. Munster have an issue with Peter O'Mahony, Paul O'Connell, Ronan O'Gara, Conor Murray leaving. So, as you were saying, BJ, you need players to step up, but where are they going to come from, BJ? Is the point. So, yeah. You know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying there, and 100%. So, I suppose to just quickly answer that question in the sense of where Leinster have the luxury of the cohort of the schools, okay? So obviously they have that, as you know, that's coming through. They held on to obviously Johnny for a long period of time, and the knock-on effects are there. But of course, you know, Munster just don't have the kind of schools they have in Dublin and the kind of players coming through. And are they allowed to also sign the players that they want to sign to kind of, you know, have during a season or two? Let's just use Slimani for an example, okay? Because I want to use this example because it's probably one of the best signings Leinster's ever done. And It's not because of the capability of him as a player. He was at his top of his game, you know, when he was playing in France, okay? When he was playing for Clermont. Where was he? Clermont, was he? Slimani, Paris?
Yeah.
Stade Francais, sorry. What they did there, okay, they understood they needed someone to be able to scrum, okay? With all respect, Slimani, what he does well is he scrums well, okay? So what that allowed to do, okay, is they started with Slimani, and what it did is, again, coming back to my point, it set a standard. The scrum was rock solid, okay? And then what they did was they brought one of these youngsters coming on, okay? And then he just filled that space, and then what you had is experience coming over to the youngster and this kind of whole tag team around that environment. So they were never really exposed, okay, in the scrum at all because of that unbelievable signing, okay. And he obviously was hardened and he played, etc., etc. Of course, Munster's had bad luck, you know. We just look at RG is what they call them, RG, and these injuries, and of course they haven't had the luck. However, if you look at the broad spectrum, there was still frailties in the recruitment, you know, of players not stepping up to European standard. And this is the thing, like, it comes down to that at the end of the day. I'm asking the question, where do they come from? Of course, are they allowed to then sign, you know, maybe, I don't know, is there with the whole conversation around, we've just spoken about Leinster, Munster, and how many players have possibly come down to Munster that are Leinster players that are not making the Leinster squad. You know, so are they really going to be capable of playing in Europe for Munster then?
Yeah.
You know, what is going on here? What level are we aiming for here? You know, so this is another conversation. But you know, obviously the depth has been, but why has it been there in the past? Are we scouting players early enough? Are we putting them a real acute focus on the pathways? Like, where does this player at 16, 17, 18 years old as a front rower, where are they at that 19, 20 year mark? Where have they gone? Have they gone to England to play in the National One champ? Let's get them back. Or do we send them to champ for 2 years to become better scrummagers? I don't know. You know, the fact is that we need to kind of then say we need to look at them more acutely and not just sign. I've just seen now a couple of players that have left the academy, you know, and you have when you see players leaving at a young age, it's a scary thought because it's not only a financial, okay, it's like who replaces them? They now on the 22 years old, 21 years old, you've brought them to the system, your own system, that you can't use them now. You can't use them. They haven't come through like you've probably hoped to. You've lost money, and now who do you replace those players with? What do you do now?
Well, that is the question.
Critical. It's so critical that 18, 19-year-old mark to bring them through the right players. Of course, there's going to be one or two, but you can't have 4 or 5 falling off the bus. That's not even acceptable in any organization.
All right, good point, BJ. And listen, come here to me. Look, we're over time, so I'm going to finish. Finish
as usual.
As
Can I just say one thing, Peter?
Can I ask BJ one question?
The other thing,
hold on, Dara, go on. Dara, go on.
The other thing, BJ, is you have great Munster front rowers like Keith Woods, and he has 2 sons, and they both turn out to be backs. I mean, you know.
There you
It
go.
happens. It happens.
Go on,
front rowers.
Well, there you go.
I
Bishop
always wanted to be a wing. Well,
yeah.
Just a quick one.
Yes.
I agree with BJ. Munster missed a huge trick. Like when they won 2006 and they won 2008, the likes of Ireland didn't get a look in. Every kid in Munster wanted to play rugby for Munster. It was as simple as that. So it was ready-made recruitment. And even at that time, when it was so easy to take in a batch, sort of wheat from the chaff, they didn't really have pathways in place. They didn't really have the focus and the foresight to build for the future. Unfortunately, that was a huge fuck up, let's be honest, on Munster's part. But on the other side of it,
Jim Williams, like Slimani.
Yeah, so but the AAL, BJ, a lot of the guys in that setup came from the AAL because, as you said, Munster doesn't have the same percentage of schools as Leinster do. Now, I think there's a correlation between, at around the same time, Munster dominated the AIL. Now Leinster are dominating the AIL, and Cork are about the only team that are making any kind of showing in the AIL. Do you think it might be worth Munster starting to kind of go back and looking into the AIL for a couple of gems and to bring them through?
Jeremy Kerr.
Maybe. Okay. I tell you what. Okay. Sorry. Go on. Did someone say something there?
No, I said. I'll tell you now. Wow. Sorry, Claire.
Sorry, just Jerry Kerr came from Leinster. Went to the AIL for Jerry Kerr. He came through the AIL. He came from Lansdowne.
And Frawley.
And now he.
And Frawley.
Yeah.
Frawley,
no, yeah. Sorry, BJ. Go ahead.
I just was going to say what they've got now. It's probably referring to what I believe now with kind of Connacht setup, okay, of where they're moving. They've got a really tight grip on the clubs around them, okay, and they're actually doing particularly well on that side, really. You know, they're communicating, they're really kind of finding that we're trying to develop the players, bringing them through the pathways really kind of aligned. And that's what you need. You need that alignment. And I suppose, because we don't have those schools and we need to find the players, they are there. They've been there before. And I think it's one of the reasons why Connacht is sitting really quiet there and doing their stuff. You know, it's going to be a real kind of dangerous pathway for teams now.
With an even smaller pool than Munster.
Exactly. With even a smaller pool.
There you go.
Yeah, a smaller pool.
Okay, folks, we are over time. We're going to finish it on this, who's winning and who's losing. BJ, we're going to do this now because we might not speak with you next week or the week after, but we'll do it now and get your predictions. Now, I will keep you as the last voice on the show. Matt Boland, give us your predictions. New Zealand versus France in this Nations Champions Cup thing.
New Zealand.
All right. Let me see here. Japan are playing Italy, Matt.
That could be a good game, actually.
It could be, yeah.
I'll go with Italy.
Okay. Australia are playing ourselves, Ireland.
I have to back the boys in Korea.
Okay. Fiji are playing Wales.
Fiji.
Okay. South Africa are playing England.
South Africa.
Okay. And Argentina are playing Scotland.
Argentina.
Okay. Claire, to you.
Yes.
Same questions. New Zealand versus France.
New Zealand.
Ooh, okay. Japan versus Italy.
Italy.
All right. Australia versus us, Ireland.
I said this to you the other night. The Irish lads are tired. The Irish lads are tired. My heart is saying, I gotta go Ireland. Yeah.
Okay. Fiji. Okay. Fiji against Wales.
I gotta go Wales.
Okay. South Africa against England.
The South Africans.
Okay, and Argentina against Scotland.
Where's the Argentina?
Okay, Len, to you, same questions. New Zealand against France.
France.
Oh, nice one. I like it. Japan against Italy. Len.
Japan.
He's going against everything we've just said.
Australia.
Typical Munster, man.
All right, Australia against Ireland. Len.
Yeah. Look, I'll go with the lads in green.
All right, Fiji against Wales.
Fiji.
South Africa against England.
South Africa.
Okay, and Argentina against Scotland.
Argentina.
All right, good stuff. Thank you, Len. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Matt. Dara Weston, New Zealand against France.
France are blooding a lot of young players on this tour, so New Zealand.
All right, Japan against Italy.
Italy.
All right, Australia against Ireland.
I have to go Ireland. I can't show for anyone else.
Okay, Fiji against Wales.
I think Wales can actually do it. I think Wales have a bit of a slight lift.
Okay, South Africa against England.
South Africa.
Okay, Argentina against Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, if I was being selfish, I'd say Scotland, and that way maybe Felipe Condoponi will finish with Argentina and come to Leinster.
Okay, fair enough. Very good. Okay, BJ, the last voice on the show tonight because we're way over time. Your own thoughts on this? New Zealand against France, BJ.
New Zealand.
All right, good call. Japan against Italy. Yeah, I think so. I agree with you. Japan against Italy.
Italy. They're just going to scrum into pieces.
All right. Australia against Ireland. Careful. I'm only joking. Fiji against Wales. BJ.
I think, I don't know. I feel like Wales have made the turn, but I just haven't seen enough. I think Fiji, if nothing to lose, they play with their heart on their sleeve. I love them playing that kind of rugby. I think they're challenging there, Fiji.
It's almost barbarian like, isn't it, BJ?
Yeah.
The way Fiji play.
And it's like also barbarians, you're tackling tree stumps the whole day at the same time. They can be around the 100 meters in 10 seconds. So it's hard work.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. One of the big ones, BJ, South Africa versus England.
Yeah, it's going to be saucy. I won't lie to you. It's going to be saucy. I think there's a lot of build up to this. And I think South Africa, of course, but I feel like it's going to be it's not going to be a big kind of difference. I think it's going to be a real, titanic struggle there. I think it's England have coming out, they're hungry. Their kind of players are on a high. Kind of part of the team has, just come off that win. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's obviously going to be a big forward, kind of contest, but I think South Africa will take it.
All right, good stuff. And lastly, BJ, Argentina taking on the Scots.
Argentina. I think, even though I think Scotland have shown, kind of with their games of Six Nations, I just think Argentina are too strong, and I think I think Argentina are going to be a real contender next year. I think they are a team that's going to be, right up there next year. They're showing, really good promise. So we'll have to see how that works out. But I think they're going to be too strong, Argentina.
All right. Okay, good stuff. Now, that is all we have time for, folks. My thanks are to Claire Devney, to Bishop Len, to Dara Weston, to Matt Boland, and our special guest. Always a pleasure. Always great chatting with him. BJ Botha, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
And to all of you for watching and your comments and all that, thank you very much.
Stay hydrated, drink loads of water, try not to melt us Irish people in the sun.
And see, two Munster men held their own against 4 Leinster people. Not a bother to us.
There you go. Thank you very much, folks. Enjoy, and we will do it all again next week. BJ, thanks a million.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, bye.
Awesome. Thanks.